Oh, it's sliding. Okay, so I'm clearly not like a YouTuber as I struggle to get my iPhone set up to record this. But so I talked a little bit earlier about an update on my hydrodistension and how that really didn't work for me and where I've been over the past 2 years since I tried that for my IC. Long story short, I've had 3 rounds of installations. They've been a lifesaver for me. And what led me to installations is getting pregnant with my first child. And I know that's kind of a scary topic for everyone that has IC. It certainly was for me. And there's a lot of positive studies out there that, symptoms can get better during pregnancy, lessen up. Some people say they feel totally normal when they're pregnant with IC. I did not have that experience. It was truly just terrible. I found out that I was pregnant really early on. I knew basically right away. And even though it wasn't exactly planned, it wasn't something that we were gonna do it. I'm not gonna go into all that, but it was stressful because it wasn't planned, and I think that definitely contributed to my symptoms at first. And within the first 6 weeks, 5 weeks, I believe, actually, I already had a UTI. And getting UTIs is like not uncommon for those of us with IC. I was in a place at that point in time where I had a bit of a hard time discerning when I actually had a UTI because I was just in pain all the time. So it wasn't like pain was a new or different thing. But when I did have a UTI, the pain was like next level. So that was how I kind of knew. And then, yeah, that was the first 5-6 weeks. It was bad. I was stressed. I was upset. I was feeling sick. I was sick with UTI. Standard antibiotics is how they treated me. Fast forward to about week 20 of pregnancy. At that point, I'd had 5 UTIs already. I was miserable. I was pretty much suicidal at that point, passively. I wasn't going to tell my doctors that and label myself crazy, but I felt like I couldn't deal with one more day in the pain that I was in. I could barely wear clothes around my abdomen. I could hardly eat or drink anything. I couldn't have sex. I couldn't be comfortable laying down, standing up, anything. So I basically just got really fed up with my doctors being like, okay, we'll give you some antibiotics, we'll do a UA, we'll see if you have a UTI. And then saying, oh, well, you're pregnant, there's nothing we can do. Because that was their whole attitude. You're pregnant, there's nothing we can do. And I threw a fit. I remember that day just reaching a breaking point, calling all of my doctors. For some reason, my OB wouldn't speak to my urologist. My urologist wanted to defer to my OB. And I was like, no. You talk to him, you talk to her, and we need to do something. Because I could not go one more day not able to function. Mind you, this was in the middle of the pandemic as well. This was like April of 2020. So it was a bad time to need treatment. They weren't doing anything elective. They weren't seeing you in person. It was all teleconference. You know what it's like to get a hold of a doctor. So what they ultimately decided was, due to my chronic and recurrent UTIs, they would put me on long-term low-dose antibiotics for the rest of the pregnancy. And I was nervous about that, but I was willing to do anything. And they also agreed that they would allow me to come in to have installations done to try to calm down my bladder a bit from all of those repeated infections and the pain and inflammation. And I was up for it. I was like, I don't care what you have to do. I knew I didn't want a hydrodistension. They weren't really talking about that anyway because of the anesthesia. But I said, whatever you have to do, let's do it. And so we did. And after the first one, I didn't really feel much relief. It was so hard to hold it. It felt like so much in my bladder. I could barely hold it. By the third one, I was feeling some relief. And mind you, this is like one treatment a week for 6 consecutive weeks. Third one, I started to have some relief. And by the last one, I honestly felt like a different person. Like it calmed my bladder down. I don't really know what it did, but the pain was mostly non-existent. A world different from what I'd been in before. I had my normal soreness and discomfort after sex, but that was normal. I could even like drink coffee again, a cup in the morning and not hate myself. It was the most amazing thing. So I finished up with installations at about 26 weeks. And then my little guy was born healthy at 39 and 3. I had him in the hospital. I had him naturally, and it wasn't an issue. I knew I didn't want a C-section recovery, so that wasn't an issue at all. That didn't mess with my IC at all. I did have an epidural, so I did have a catheter for that, but that didn't mess me up at all. And overall, like, the second half of my pregnancy was amazing compared to the first half. I felt like after the first half I couldn't do it, so I would just totally recommend, advocate for yourself, especially during these times when we're still in a pandemic and doctors don't want to do anything more than necessary. But it's your health at the end of the day, and if you're pregnant, it's your child's health too. So yeah, that was my experience. I can definitely talk more about certain parts of it, answer questions about the instills or anything like that. But yeah, instills, they saved my life. I'm a believer.